Grab a drink because we're going outside to take a look at my garden in all of its messy glory right now. There is so much work to do out here, it's kind of crazy. Here it all is. These fig trees get massive and they will actually take over this whole area. Unfortunately, Bermuda grass took over this whole in-ground bed, so I'm going to have to dig it all out and start from scratch on this bed. This bed has got a pineapple sage plant in it, thyme, oregano, a whole section of garlic. There is cilantro over here and kale. Time will tell if this little rosemary plant made it or not. So besides doing some light weeding in here, this bed is almost pretty much ready to go. I'll probably just go ahead and add more compost to it. And then there's whole big sections I can still plant in for the spring. This bed here has a bunch of pineapple sage in it, as well as some rosemary and sage hidden in there. This garden is going to need so much love to get it back to its former summer glory. Look at that. One of my kids' gloves. What a surprise. But this one here is full of shallots, a light weeding, and this one will be good to go. It'll just get another layer of compost on top, but there is so much growing space in here. I've previously used it for peppers, and the year before that it was used for tomatoes. Only time will tell if this cayenne plant is going to make it or not. I didn't really overwinter it. I did put a layer of mulch around it, but that was the majority of what I did. To the left of that is my strawberry patch that has gone crazy. I have already pulled out a bunch of extra plants, and I'm going to need to do it again really well because I want my main plants to not have a whole lot of suckers attached to them, because I want the main plant to focus on producing bigger, better strawberries. Like, this is so wild. It has just exploded over the winter. And I see so much work ahead of me. Look at all the little garden decorations that just didn't fare too well over the winter. This is just my backyard homestead garden, y'all. Not perfect, but it definitely produces a lot. This mini bed was taken over by those little wild strawberries. So it's super easy to clear out. And then this bed will get another layer of soil, probably some compost, and then it'll be ready to go. And this whole thing will hold a lot, especially if you're following square foot gardening. There's so much space here. This bed over here is my current pride and glory. It is full of garlic. There's 2 different varieties in here, but they're both doing really well. Besides a few yellowing leaves, I know they'll all bounce back really well once I fertilize it and spring comes. I mulched this bed just with fall leaves. You can see that some weeds did come through, but they'll be super easy to pick out. Okay, so that was that whole side. We're not even going to talk about the cheap greenhouse we bought and completely fell apart after one storm. All right, this bed over here, I've got some empty little shells right there I need to grab for spring planting. But this bed currently has cabbages in it. These guys, because it's been so cold, they are growing super slow, but they are growing and they are forming itty bitty little heads so far. So I'm pretty excited about that. This one has sustained frost damage. It's actually really pretty looking, but it'll bounce back super easy. I harvested all of my early Jersey varieties that were over here. They did super well and had great heads on them. These 2 guys I'll probably just use for greens. They have also sustained some bad frost damage, but really they're okay. And you know, y'all are just getting the raw, uncut footage of this garden. Okay, now we're over here. This is a giant Echinacea. I'm going to cut it down, and then I'm actually going to cut through the root system and separate it out into 2 plants, because I would like to harvest a whole lot more this year. We have been going through the tinctures I made with it, and I've also been gifting some out, so I definitely want to do twice as much this year with that. And then this over here, that is all lemon balm, and I also did tinctures with that, and it makes a really great tea. So I'm going to cut those down and help it grow back into a real good healthy plant. This is all really good planting space. It just has to get weeded out, but I'll probably do potatoes in this whole area. I have done that a couple years ago, and it actually worked out really well, and I harvested a lot, so I'll probably do that again. I also plan to do a lot more vertical gardening this year. So where this trellis is right here, I'm going to be extending it out this way and hopefully have a trellis through this entire walkway. Okay, in this bed over here, I have got kale, I have collards, I had broccoli over here, it all was harvested. I have Brussels sprouts, which I need to take off all the leaves right below this crown. I need to take all of those leaves off of all of them so the actual Brussels sprouts grow nice and big. And then I have all these carrots in here. They also sustained a little bit of frost damage, but really they're root vegetables, so they'll do just fine. I have to clean up all my walkways, and a bunch of these beds need to get fixed, so that will be a whole project. A few of these beds have made it over 10 years, so really they've done great. The plan for this area over here is we're actually going to be adding in 2 or 3 new raised beds all through here. So I'll have to come in and really clear all of this out to add them in. This is a cinder block bed we just put in this year. It is pretty much ready to go for planting besides weeding and amending the soil. And planted in some of these cinder blocks, we actually have saffron. So that is like these little sprigs here that you see. They don't always flower their first year, so I'm hoping that next year that they'll flower. There's the girls. Look, they're all hoping for treats. Coming to see what's going on. This bed will definitely need work because it's got so many weeds in it, and it definitely needs a good top off of soil and compost as well. This is a newer bed that we put in. It's treated wood, so treated wood gets metal flashing, so it keeps the chemicals from leaching into your soil. But with how well these were made, they should last like 10 years. So that's that area over there. I have also got this bed that needs work. It needs a good soil top off as well as compost top off. And then there's this bed here. We are thinking about putting a small raised bed in here, as well as another one going this way right here. And then the whole garden we are going to work on fencing in this spring. The whole garden is probably 1/4 of an acre, but this garden produces a ton, and I'm really going to try to maximize my growing space this year. I want to do a lot more vertical gardening, and I want to see how much I can do with square foot gardening. So from where the garden is over here, we have all of our blueberry bushes. There are at least 14 of them over here. I just put in an elderberry plant. This is a pink lemonade blueberry. These are blackberries. And then the rest of these are all blueberry bushes, and they produce a ton. They're well established, and they do gallons and gallons a year. And then back here we have our compost piles, which this one just got emptied into this one over here, and it is doing really well. I'll be excited to move it all over into the gardens this spring. So that is my little backyard homestead. I know it doesn't look like much, and it's a freaking disaster right now. But I promise you, come spring, especially summer, this garden is going to be so full and so beautiful. I can't wait. Gardens are not always pretty, that is for sure. But with a lot of work, I'm going to turn that whole thing around. Just wait and see.